Thank you, Abraham. Here's my dilemma. I launch my desire. I feel very clear and strongly about what I want to do and positive changes I want to make in my life. I'm a mother of 2 small children, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I want to change my old past patterns. However, how can I stand firm with that and continue to do that when I have a husband who is not at all in that same vibrational believing, and in fact doesn't even believe in what I believe in?
Well, what's your husband got to do with your vibration? He can't get in there and vibrate in you.
I understand that, but
it's your attention to him that is messing up your vibration.
Yes.
So what you're saying is, how can I find the power to offer a vibration that pleases me when I've got someone that I'm observing that causes me to offer a vibration that I don't want to offer?
Exactly.
We say, well, that's why we began here today as we did, that the only thing that is relevant is where I am relative to where I want to be. So we're going to dramatize this for you just to make it fun and obvious what's happening. So you say, here I'm living and I've launched this clear idea. We heard you and we could feel that. I have this clear idea. So there's me and my clear idea. The only 2 things that matter. Except for him. There's me and my clear idea, and that's all that matters except for him. So there's my clear idea and where I am and him. And he's an increasingly big part of where I am. If he would just clean up his act. And we say, you have to disregard anyone outside of your vibration. When you give your attention to anything, you activate it in you. So what you want to do is activate within you the parts of him that match what you want. And there are some. It's a matter of focusing. It's about training yourself to focus in a way that feels good rather than just sloppily looking at whatever. When you go to a buffet, do you just let them pile anything on your plate?
No.
Really?
No.
You don't just say,
Bring
it's
it
up
on.
to you. You mean you choose?
I do.
So why don't you do that with your husband? Does he pile it on your plate?
Yes, he's very strong.
Well, we thought that's what you'd say, because it does feel a little bit like people who are strong in personality can assert themselves into your experience. But there's a little trick or technique that if you will apply it, you'll start to get some relief in this. And we call it making peace with where you are. In other words, there are a lot of people who really need cooperation from everybody around them before they believe they can begin moving toward where they want to go. And we want to say to you, you don't need cooperation from anybody but yourself. But you've got to stop pushing against the parts of others that feel like they're not going the way you want. In other words, you've got to clean up your own vibration, and you do that by disregarding some of it or by sifting through it and finding the best of it. What do you think is the behavior that stands out the most in your husband's personality that feels hindering to you?
The negativity, aggression.
So are you saying to us that he is angry?
Yes.
And what have you heard so far here today about why anyone would have that knee-jerk response of anger? Why do you think he's moving to anger?
Well, I don't know about whether he's moving to anger, but I know that I've moved to anger.
Well, that's logical,
Yeah.
but let's talk about him just for a moment.
Okay.
So he's angry, and what does that mean? If you're looking at him objectively as a teacher or a counselor or someone who loves him, and you see him in anger, what do you think he's chosen anger over?
Pain.
And pain of what?
His past.
And a past that feels like disempowerment?
Yes.
So his anger is the way that, without really knowing it, he tries to take control of his life back. And don't you respect that? In other words, wouldn't you sort of like to pat him on the back and say, love, I would rather that you are in your anger than in fear? Couldn't you give him that? Now, if you're in fear of his anger, then that's a hard one for you to do. But if you can objectively stand back a little bit, as we do, if we met your husband and we saw him in pain and in memory of his past, we'd be coaching him into anger. And you'd say, oh, Abraham, thanks a lot. Now he's taking it out on me. I liked him better when he was depressed. You hardly even knew him when he was depressed, because the depression was so awful that he's been practicing the art of anger for a long time, you see. So when we say make peace with something, this is a mechanism where you can make peace with this. Because when you think about it, now try just for a moment to just be where you are, thinking about your hard to live with husband and the anger and aggression that he displays. And just ask yourself on a visceral level, on how it feels in your stomach. Would you rather that he was in despair and fear, or would you rather, for his sake, that he were in anger?
Oh, for sure, anger.
All right, so now you've just made a little bit of peace with that. In other words, you've just closed the gap. You just found relief as you thought about the subject of your husband. You feel better about him right now than you have in a long time. He became less of a hindering factor between where you are and what you want than he's been in a long time, because you soothed yourself relative to him, you see. What happens with most is one feels despair and finds anger, which gives you the choice of either despair or anger. So you find despair or anger. That's where all this victim and all of this co-creation comes on. There are so many people that are co-conspirators in these relationships, and the psychiatrists and psychologists have given them all kinds of labels like codependent, and how they're bringing the worst out in each other. But we say what you're really trying to do is gain your own ground. And when you gain a little ground, then you've got more leeway so that you can help someone else. It's interesting as we feel the vibration around you and around all of this, and there are many who are like this, where when you came together, he was offering an attitude of authority and security. In other words, he looked like he was in charge, and that felt good to you because you wanted somebody to be in charge. You had enough vulnerability and feeling of not enoughness going on within you that you were looking for someone who could lead you. What you didn't realize is that he was leading from his place of demanding his power. In other words, he wasn't leading from connection to source. He wasn't leading from his total self. He wasn't leading from clarity. But you know what? And we say this lovingly, and we want you to not worry about it at all. You didn't have access to somebody like that from where you were.
Oh, I understand that.
You had access to him. In other words, you were vibrational matches for each other, and what he offered you was the next logical step from where you were, you see. But then sort of what you're saying is, but I wanted you to be everything that I believed you were. And we say, but the universe brought you together because of what you were, and it was the next logical step. Don't need somebody to be more than they are. Just be grateful for what they were, you see. Is that making sense?
Yes.
That's really powerful, you see. So now you say, okay, I get that. We were vibrational matches, and he looked like somebody who could lead me and guide me. In other words, you walked into that full knowing. And then as I began to gather a little bit of my own security, and as he seemed to lose a little bit of his, then our relationship started to disintegrate a little bit. And we say, doesn't matter. You can now be the vibrational leader. But don't tell him. He's not going to take kindly to the idea that you are leading him, but you can by bringing the best out of him. In other words, as you make lists of the things that you appreciate about him, go home today and make a list of the way your life improved when you met him, and make a list of why you wanted to be with him. You can remember why you wanted to be with him, and reactivate that within yourself. And then on another page, make a list of the positive aspects that you see, so that you activate the very best of him in you. And it is our promise that as soon as tomorrow, more of the best of him will be reflected in your own experience, you see. It happens every single time. There are people who say, Abraham, I'm having this experience of violence or anger. Should I leave? And sometimes we say it might be a good idea, but always we say, if you go, you will take your vibrational self with you. And it's so much less disruptive to your experience and to that of your family if you find vibrational alignment with the best of where you are, because then you can step into the next logical step and the next logical step and the next logical step. This relationship can improve dramatically, and it is our expectation that it will. We wouldn't go running off we would clean up our vibration. And we wouldn't have conversations with him about, I'm cleaning up my vibration so that you will treat me better. We would clean up our vibration, and we would acknowledge that you are being treated better, not just by him, but by everyone who touches you in every way. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. You are powerful creators in your perfect place. And it is our desire that you make peace with where you are, no matter where you are. No matter what the diagnosis, no matter what the current state of financial affairs, no matter what the relationship is currently happening with those significant people in your life, we want you to try your best to feel as good as you can feel about where you are right now. And with that small effort, your energy will shift, and everything that you've been wanting about that will begin to take form and shape. Isn't it interesting? People will say, hey, Abraham, I want to be over there. And we say, what's it like over there? And they say, got to be better than over here. And we say, yes, but tell us what's over there. And they say, I can't, I'm not over there. But I can tell you it's got to be better than what's over here. And we say, well, if you talk about what's over here, you can't get over there. And they say, but I don't want to be over here, I want to be over there. And we say, then talk about what's over there. And they say, I can't, I'm over here. And we say, yes, you can. You can try. No, I can't talk about what's over there till I get over there. Then you'll never get over there. You have to talk about what you think might be over there. You have to try to find the feeling place of what's over there. You have to dredge up from your past things that are sort of like what you think might be over there. You have to activate vibrations within yourself that are different than what's over here if you want to be any place other than what's over here. You are vibrational beings first and foremost. Flesh, blood, and bone, yes, you are. Beautiful beings. But you are vibration. 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 And you live in a universe that is vibrationally based. And law of attraction is matching you up with things that mimic, that exactly replicate the vibration that you are offering right now. So you have in every moment a unique mix of vibrations that is somewhere between what you really want and who you really are and where you are and what you're observing now. And as you make more and more effort to choose your vibrational nature by feeling your way into improved feeling thoughts, what begins to happen is that everything in the universe that matches the improvement becomes part of your now experience. And as it becomes part of your now experience, it's easier for you from this new improved place to anticipate something new and improved again. But friends, we're not guiding you this way because we think there's something inappropriate with where you are. You don't have to go somewhere because where you are is inappropriate. You want to go someplace because it is your nature to continue to move. You cannot stand still because you cannot cease to offer a vibration. So it is only important that you find thoughts that feel good because it is inevitable, hear this, it is inevitable that you are going to always move towards something. So why not let it be something that is pleasing to you? You can't stand still because you can't cease to vibrate. And law of attraction will not stop responding to the vibration that you're offering. The way you feel is your indication of the direction of your movement. And so when you seek joy, and on your way to joy, you might stop off in rage. You might stop off in revenge. You might stop off in worry. You might stop off in frustration. But as you are deliberately reaching for the improved relief that a decision of thought will bring you, you're going to start loving life. We don't want you to go someplace else because someplace else needs to be gone to. We don't want you to paint a picture because the world needs another picture. We don't want you to invent something because the world needs an invention. We want you to fulfill your own desires because you can't have fun unless you're up to speed with what you gave birth to. When contrast causes you to launch a desire, you got to get up to speed with it in order to stay in alignment. This is the promise you made from your non-physical perspective before you came into this body. You said, I know the environment will inspire the new idea, and I'll do my very best to stay up with the new idea. And I'll be able to know how I'm doing by the way I feel. So expansion is inevitable. You provide it whether you know you do or not. You are so free, no one else can vibrate for you. The basis of your experience is absolute freedom. The only question is, What is the standard of joy that you are demanding for yourself? And we want to say to you, from your non-physical perspective, it's a high, high standard.